Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for my first impressions on the new European destroyer line, being the Tier 8 split. And also, need to make a quick mention to Portable Reef in chat. I believe you may have been talking to me, and I only noticed your comment upon watching this video again as I was choosing a video for split. So, hello back to you. Sorry I didn't see that in the chat. So, split. There's too many things I'm going to do in particular. Well, three actually. I'm going to read some information from the WoW's wiki, and then I'm going to compare split to two other destroyers similar to her in the game, and then give you my general impressions, particularly her weaknesses. Let's actually talk about those weaknesses, because I'd rather tell you them now than later on into the game that I have experienced so far with the ship. The main one is something I made this mistake several times in a row before I finally learned my lesson, and that is that smoke radar combination. So the radar that you get on the split, it's a 9-kilometer radar, but it only lasts, if you don't build into it or anything, it's like I think around 10 seconds. And I'm pre-torping where the kid's coming in. And so one of the strengths you have, because my concealment's not the best, so when I take concealment of the commander at 6.9, I know the kid with, I think he's got 5.8, he'll spot me first. But my intentions is to be ready to go with my radar key. Now, I don't necessarily make the exact mistake I'm going to talk about here. Now, the San Diego's there, so that's kind of a bummer. So he's going to be supported by the kid here. But we were ready to go as soon as the kid popped up. So we get a couple salvos. Basically, you get 3 salvos off. If you build in a radar, effectively you can get 4 off if that target you're shooting at does remain dark and never opens up on you. But the big weakness, I see a lot of players make this, and now I capitalize it on when I'm fighting other splits, even if I'm in the split or in a different destroyer in the game. And that is a lot of the big weakness of this ship is stopping. This ship does not stop quickly by any stretch of the imagination. So you will begin to stop, press your radar key to spot the enemy destroyer, smoke, and you're still drifting forward, and you're not going dark because it takes you so long to stop. And then even once you do stop, you're not really moving. So most destroyer players take some more pot shots at you because they know where that person came to a stop. He's probably still right there. So you can, if you're not careful, you can lose a lot of health in the opening engagements with the split. So that's one of her main weaknesses. One of the strengths you're seeing here now is that the radar cooldown time is a minute, which is really quick. So I expected that kid to actually back up like he did, because I'm expecting torpedoes to come this way, which it does. So it's kind of a very gimmick. We get a 9-kilometer radar. It only lasts for like 10 seconds, and it has a cooldown of 1 minute. So you can actually burn through all 4 radars really quick if you're not mindful of your counts of radar. The other secondary weakness with the ship, beyond it just stopping miserably slow, is her AA. So you only get close range and medium range AA. Now that close range and medium range AA is actually better than the Oland, the other Tier 8 European destroyer. It's actually, I can look here. It's not that much better, but it's just a little better. So with the split, your AA, well, let me take that away because that's building into it. 189 is your medium aurora. Close range is 59.5, where in comparison to the Oland, Oland's medium is 104. The close range is 53, but with Oland, it's a 6-kilometer AA versus 3.5-kilometer AA, and so you also get the long range damage. But the other weakness of the splits is that you don't get flak, damage by shell explosions. You do not get that here on the splits, so you're not getting any of that, the flak, where on Oland, as an example, you would. So the maneuverability of stopping is super slow, not good, and the AA is really poor. So just keep those two things in mind in particular. So going back into, let's talk a little bit more about the WoW's wiki. A little more. I was kind of curious about the history of this ship, so it's labeled here. In the 1930s, by order of the Yugoslav Navy, French specialists designed a large destroyer based on the Le Fantasque. So Split is most similar to the Le Fantasque, the Tier 8 French tech tree ship in the game, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. The boiler and turbine plant and gunfire control system were purchased in the UK and France respectively. Split, a ship named after the city where she was built, was laid down in 1939 and was to be armed with 5 Czechoslovak-produced 140mm guns, so it's a bit special on this ship. In 1941, the city of Split was captured by the Italians, who decided to complete the construction of the ship. In 1943, the destroyer was renamed the Spalato and launched. After the capitulation of Italy, the ship was grounded in port. In 1948, Yugoslavia resumed work on the ship, but receiving weapons from Czechoslovakia was no longer possible, and Split was eventually completed with British American weapons instead. The ship entered service in 1959, immediately becoming the Navy's flagship. So a little bit of history on the ship. The pros and cons they have listed with this ship is that she has a high rate of fire. So her, I'll double check this as I'm talking here. Yes, so her raw DPM, if you don't build into something like the main battery and A specialist, is with HE is 150,000. Compare that to Oland. Oland actually, take that main battery A specialist away, is 177,000 because she has a faster rate of fire. Compared to Le Fantasque is 100,000 with HE shell. Now you only get, that's the third weakness I'd say with this ship, is you only get high explosive with this ship. So Wargaming kind of insulted the player base when they first released the devlog on this line and saying that this ship line would only have high explosive, because the reasoning was, it took loads of Takal Torps, excuse me. Their reasoning was, well, players just don't use AP in the game. And I can't remember exactly how they worded it, but it's true, probably minority, maybe not most, but, you know, with 140mm guns, AP broadside, you would probably do some decent damage with these guns. So sometimes you're going to be wanting armor piercing, and you just don't have that. So basically what Wargaming did in exchange of that, as I'm going slightly off topic here, is with these 140mm guns, the maximum damage is 2,000. Now, if you compare that to Le Fantasque, it's also a maximum damage of 2,000. So that's the same, except you, like, a stock reload time on the Le Fantasque is 6 seconds, whereas here on the Split, it's 4 seconds. And you have a 10% chance of starting a fire, same as on the Le Fantasque, where Oland has a 7% chance without taking any combat signals or demolition expert. So that high fire chance is often kind of one of the strengths per se of this line. So you're just firing high explosives, so you don't have to worry about switching between high explosives and armor piercing all the time. You just fire what you have. And here, the other weakness in comparison to the Le Fantasque is the gun range. So we had to, it's only 11.3. So I had to move up to get the San Diego on range to polish him off, and I complimented the North Carolina because he was really doing a lot of the work there against the San Diego. Now I gotta move on because this game's gonna wrap up here. Good ballistics, definitely strength. Quick reloading, fast moving torpedo, which can be fired from stealth. Access to smoke generator, fast access to engine boost with reduced reload time. Access to the advanced radar, good range, fast reload. Cons, only moderate hit points with no repair party. Large targets, definitely true. That's the other thing kind of with her size and stopping really slowly, is that you're likely to take a lot of damage with this destroyer. She just is very prominent surface area. She's a large destroyer. Only has HE shells, low HE penetration. The penetration of these shells, I believe, is 23mm. Yes, that is correct. Slow turret traverse with short main battery range, as I noted. Slow torpedo damage, or low torpedo damage with short torpedo range. Weak AA defenses and extremely short surveillance radar duration. Now it's a bit interesting with this line because they took Wargaming kind of took black out of the game, citing the radar and smoke, and then they turn around and introduce a whole line in the game from the tier 8 and up with both smoke and radar. So if you're going to engage an enemy destroyer, it's better to smoke up first and then use the radar. Don't do it vice versa if possible. Or if you are going to use radar first then smoke, just keep moving to avoid hopefully taking less damage. So in concealed maneuvers, it's a pretty good place for grinding ships. So with the blue booster, we got 30,617 experience as you've been grinding up the ship line. Top the team with 2,050 base experience. So our team performed quite well here in general. Detailed report is that you can see we took 8,000 damage. Potential damage is almost 400,000. We did 46,000 spotting damage, so that's pretty good. I think we mainly got that on the carriers towards the end, I do believe. Fires, 16,976 damage, and with premium accounts here. So, my general impressions, first impressions of the ship line. I probably could even said this at the beginning as well. Just a lot of things covered in this video. It's not as long a video per se. Is that I believe so far with splits, I'm seeing that this ship line is pretty strong. Almost to the extent it's like, why do you need a radar per se? Because this line I'd say would still be pretty reasonably strong without radar. But it has radar, so the ship line is pretty strong. So it'll be interesting to see after this ship line comes out of early access, maybe month or two, if Wargaming decides to nerf this line in some way. Now I'm only saying that looking at the splits. I've yet to play Grom and Gdansk, but I'm about to pick up Grom actually pretty soon. Maybe even later today. So I will do first impressions, of course, on those two ships as well, and we'll do upgrade commander build videos on them. But Split is a pretty strong tier 8 destroyer. Just recognize that she has poor AA, she's a large destroyer, she doesn't stop quickly, and in her size and concealment, because she doesn't have the best concealment for a tier 8 destroyer, you're likely to lose health. So pick your engagements wisely. And really this ship revolves around the guns, and the torpedoes are just something added on to this destroyer in that regard. So she's a hybrid destroyer, but she plays more of a hybrid to gunboat, just because her torpedoes are weaker, and that her concealment is rather poor. So if you played the Split already, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Interested to hear what you think about the ship beyond just myself. And if you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed now already, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time. Take care.